Hello friends, welcome to Tarunayas. Today we will be discussing editorials from the Hindu, 9th of November 2022. So let's start with the editorial. The topic of the day is about the India-Pakistan ties, and you can relate it with your General Studies paper 2, India and its neighborhood relations. The source is the Hindu. This is the article which I have taken, and the title of the article is The Age of Minimalism in India-Pakistan Ties. The article is written by the Happymon Jacob, who is an associate professor for Center for International Politics, Organization and Disarmament, which is the School of International Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. So what does the writer mean by the age of minimalism? So minimalism implies something which is at the minimum level. So in recent years, the India and Pakistan ties, they are considered as the at the minimal level. That means the Indo-Pak relations, they have entered an age of minimalism. So if we recount the year 1947, then Pakistan basically as per the various factors that were responsible during that year, and also the factors which slowly started to emerge during our struggle for independence. The Pakistan Foundation was led during the struggle itself, and in the year 1947, India had to see a major humanitarian crisis with the partition of the country into two nations, that is India and Pakistan. And since independence, both the countries has seen a turbulent relationship. We have never been able to settle our relationship, our bilateral relationship, and there has always been a jerk in our relationship. Whether we speak the relationship at the boundary level, which has not still been considered as settled relationship, whether it is the LOC, which is the line of control, whether we speak of the Sir Creek. So the boundary relations have not settled, the bilateral and the trade relationship have not settled. And if we considered as the regime in the Pakistan, which during 1970s and 80s saw huge radicalization in the name of the religion, that it has become very difficult for India to maintain a consistency in the relationship and a cordial relationship. However, the former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, he said that it does matter that who our neighbors are, and if there is a peace in our neighboring countries, we have peace in our nation. So establishing a peaceful relation with our neighboring countries is of utmost importance. However, the Indian subcontinent, and especially the South Asian region of the Indian subcontinent, it has always seen a turmoil. And post 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War, the relationship between India and Pakistan has never been settled. And when we speak of the abrogation of Article 370 in the year 2019, there has been a bitterness in the Indo-Pakistan relationship, and the regime in Pakistan has not been able to accept the change in the administration of the state of Jammu and Kashmir to the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. So the writer talks about that how the Indo-Pakistan relationship they have become at their level low. So there is a very little bilateral contact, if you see. So when Prime Minister Modi was elected as the country's Prime Minister for the first time in the year 2014, he had invited the then Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif to his inaugural function, and also he had visited the country. However, post 2016, there has been a slow degradation in the relationship, according to the writer. So it has entered a cold peace, like there is no talk, but there is no fight also. So it has entered a cold peace. Both the countries, they are trying to, and especially if we look at the Pakistan's condition right now, whether we speak of the economic condition, it is all-time low. We speak of the climate change, it is badly affecting the Pakistan regime. And when we speak of the politics of the nation or the political regime of the country, it has not it has never seen a stable regime. It has seen the assassination of its prime minister, for example, the assassination of Benazir Bhutto, for example, the assassination of their former prime minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. So it has seen the assassination of many of its prime ministers, and recently there was an attack on Imran Khan as well. So the regime in the Pakistan, it is not stable, and if we consider it as a danger for our internal security, then India has to be beware of what goes on in Pakistan, and also secure its border and internal security. So since the abrogation of 370 in the year 2019, there has been a cold peace, according to the writer. So the usual melodrama which surrounds the Indo-Pakistan relationship, whether we say there are grand gestures, for example, during the prime ministership of the former and late Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, he had went to the Lahore in order to establish peace, and it was considered that there would be no further war. But then India was betrayed, and we had to see huge casualties in the Kargil war in 1999. So how the relationship which India and Pakistan has seen, whether it is going to last or not. So according to the writer, India-Pakistan relationships of the kind that we have been used to over several decades now, that means there is an intense engagement, then there is a sudden separation. So there are high points and low points, there are breakdowns of the talk, and then so basically there is a sequence. So there is an intense engagement, then there is a breakdown, then suddenly there is everything is settled, and there is a coldness between the two countries. So these things, they consistently happen. However, in the recent time, all these things are becoming a thing of past, according to the writer. So today there is no political will for any grand relationship, for any grand gestures, or for any grand outreach to the country. The bilateral contact is tactical, it is business-like, and it is unemotional. It is ironic that political parties that was, if we consider as the present ruling party, then in the year 2014, there was, shown grand gestures, people were invited from both sides, etc., etc. However, all this has come to an end. In fact, the Indus Water Treaty, which is considered as one of the most successful treaty between the two countries, that was signed in the year 1960s and brokered by the World Bank, this treaty has also seen a sudden breakdown in the talks, with no meeting between the country's permanent commission in the year 2019, if I am not wrong. Then the present government, then the writer says, what does it entails? What does it mean? The present government in the New Delhi, it began with the standard package of engage in Pakistan. So the writer gives a timeline that since 2014, when the regime changed, when the ruling party changed, so what happened? So there was an invitation that was extended to the Nawaz Sharif, the then Prime Minister of Pakistan, for Narendra Modi's, for our present Prime Minister's inaugural function in New Delhi in the year 2014, which Mr. Sharif had attended. That was followed by the Prime Minister's surprise visit to the Lahore in the year 2015. And the discreet meetings between the two national security advisors in the year 2016, when there was a terrorist attack on the Pathankot air base by a Pakistan-based terrorist organization. The New Delhi hoped that the thing would get better, but it was not to be, because the September 2016 attack in the Uri, which led to the surgical strike, which is also the Balakot strike, the famously known Balakot strike, practically froze the relationship. In the February 2019, the attack in the Pulwama on the vehicle carrying the CRPF Jawans, the government decision in August 2019 on Kashmir, it put the relationship in the deep freeze. Now, this is the timeline which is the writer giving. So, in the year 2019, what happened? We had seen the abrogation of Article 370, right, which ended the temporary special relationship or autonomous relationship that was enjoyed by the then state of Jammu and Kashmir, which has now become the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir with a legislature. So New Delhi has, according to the writer, has realized that it requires too much time, commitment, effort to make peace with Pakistan. And there is a little guarantee that peace would continue and it will succeed despite all that effort. So what does the writer means? That because the governments, they have realized that no matter how much effort they put in, the peace can never be ensured between the two countries. So there is a minimal effort that is seen, according to the writer, when it comes to establishing good relationship between the two countries. The historical and the experiential learning about the futility of pursuing a normal relationship with its Western neighbor has led to this current phase of minimalism. So a writer wants to say that the futility of effort has been realized by the government in New Delhi. As a result, the Indo-Pakistan relationship today have been reduced to the back channel conversation between the India National Security Advisor and the Pakistan's army establishment. There are at least 5 reasons why the present age of minimalism, according to the writer, has come to characterize the India-Pakistan relationship. For one, the relationship is the history of missed opportunities. That India and Pakistan relationship have seen several opportunities being missed, and there are failed attempts at the conflict resolution. There is a political inability to resolve the conflicts, and especially the Kashmir issue. It is always highlighted in the Pakistan's regime. Basically, the Pakistan's, according to the experts, the whole polity of the Pakistan's runs on two things: India and Kashmir. So this is how the political establishment in Pakistan runs their polity, according to the experts. And there is a certain lack of political will on either side of the countries. I mean, on the either side, that is Pakistan and India. And these disappointments have led to a recognition in New Delhi that making a comprehensive peace with Pakistan is a fool's errand. So this is what the writer wants to say when he says the age of minimalism. Second, the writer says that there is a recognition on both the sides. That was the first reason why do we see the age of minimalism in the relationship. The second reason is that there is a recognition on both sides that for all the talk about conflict resolution, there is no easy way to resolve their complicated effort, and that going forward the bilateral conflict resolution, it may get harder due to rising populism fueled by online hate. Now what does the writer simply wants to say here? That the conflict resolution has become difficult, and in the coming year it will become even more difficult if we speak of this online hate. So the online hate speeches and the online hate which is spreaded on both the sides, not one side is responsible. There are some people on both the sides who spread such such things, and this online hate speech makes it even more difficult to to establish peace with the nation. And with the rising radicalization in the country, I mean in Pakistan, so the peace establishment has become all the more difficult. With the establishment of the Taliban in Afghanistan and Tehreek-e-Taliban in Pakistan, which supports Taliban, I mean this Tehreek-e-Taliban in Pakistan, there is a sudden rise in the radicalization. So this makes the establishment of peace even a more difficult effort. Third point that the writer wants to say is that New Delhi has also realized that the traditional logic in India, that it should first settle its conflict with Pakistan and then move on to addressing the bigger challenges, may take New Delhi nowhere. After all, none of the key bilateral conflicts between them has been resolved since the Indus Water Treaty of 1960. So writer wants to say that except for the Indus Water Treaty that was brokered by World Bank in the year 1960, except for this, there has not been any other issue which has seen its resolution there has not been any other issue which has seen resolution. So writer speaks of the futility of the effort. The fourth point is that there is a certain confidence in New Delhi today that it does not need to talk to Pakistan to ensure peace inside the Kashmir. So the present regime of the government seems to be confident today that if we want to establish peace in Kashmir, reduce the radicalization there and reduce the separatist tendencies there, bring prosperity and enhance the infrastructure in the union territory, then there is no need to establish the peace. That means unilaterally India is capable of handling Kashmir issue and also establishing peace in the union territory. There is a growing confidence in New Delhi about its capabilities to defend Kashmir against the Pakistani aggression or from terror attacks, and the belief in the deterrence by punishment will further moderate the India's desire to have elaborate conflict resolution exercise with Pakistan. Finally, the writer says that both sides are occupied with their own geopolitical changes. The Pakistan with the Taliban-led Afghanistan. See, for a long decade, Pakistan had supported Taliban, and today this support has backfired. So there was a huge incursion seen in the country that people from Afghanistan, they entered Pakistan, and there was a huge humanitarian crisis that was seen especially at the Afghanistan and Pakistan border, which is also known as the Durand line. Now Taliban regime does not recognize this Durand line, and the Taliban, it is majorly dominated by the people from the Pashtun community, and this Pashtun nationalism is dangerous for Pakistan as well. So both the sides, according to the writer, they are preoccupied with their own geopolitical changes. The recent clashes that were seen between the Pakistan and China too, although they are not hot clashes, but because China's investment is also involved in Pakistan, and there is a decline seen in the investment given by China to Pakistan. So Pakistan has also many issues to deal, and India is also busy with dealing many of its geopolitical challenges, especially the challenges in the Indian Ocean region posed by the China. And India also has its commitment toward the climate change and towards other things which will enhance the growth and prosperity of the country. So thus both the sides are not showing any effort, according to the writer, and especially there are less and minimal efforts shown by the New Delhi towards establishing peace with Pakistan. And these geopolitical changes, according to the writer, are keeping both the countries busy elsewhere than with each other. So what is the rationale and the methodology? So the age of minimalism, which is seen in Indo-Pak relationship, is characterized by noticeable feature. And what are those noticeable features according to the writer? The first is that the interlocutors on either side, they have adopted a clinical approach to deal with each other side. That means discuss and deal with only those issues that need urgent attention. So only those issues which require urgent attentions, they are to be dealt by the interlocutors, and no issue which is prolonged and which is going to extend. These issues will not be dealt by the interlocutors. So this is what the writer wants to say. And the second thing is that there is an unmissable focus on the conflict management rather than the conflict resolution. So management of the conflict is seen to be more beneficial than the resolution. So if none of the sides agree with the LOC, because it was considered as a sort of a peacemaker, and India does not agree with LOC. However, India has a hard stance that the status of the Kashmir is going to be decided by India and not by Pakistan or the regime there. So, for example, the writer wants to take the example of the Kashmir. And he discusses in this context that the ceasefire agreement and not the historical political conflict of Kashmir. So, what in New Delhi is focusing on the ceasefire agreement, that there should not be the ceasefire agreement has to be focused upon. It needs to be it needs to be sustained, but we cannot make a we cannot approach Pakistan for the conflict resolution in Kashmir. Right, so this is not what the New Delhi is focused upon. We are just focused upon that there should be peace in the valley, and there should be no ceasefire violations. But given the current engagement is decidedly for tactical purposes, larger political issues are to be kept out of its purview. The third important aspect that the writer wants to bring our attention towards is that it has so far served as a useful platform for clarifying red lines, expectation management, and achieving the limited but clear outcomes. In 2021, February ceasefire agreement is one such outcomes, and relative reduction in violence in Kashmir is another. So, how does we deal with the Rawalpindi? That means how do we deal with Pakistan? Same. However, to my mind, the most important aspect of this minimalistic approach is something else. It is the New Delhi's ability to shed its traditional hesitation about directly dealing with the Pakistani army establishment. India has traditionally been of the view that it would only engage with the political establishment in Islamabad, who or whoever runs the show in Islamabad. No, the traditional view of the India was that we deal with the political establishment. We do not deal with the army. But in Pakistan, it is the army which runs the country, right? Not the political establishment. So, but the India's focus was on the political establishment. This had a structural issue. There is a attempts at conflict resolution by India and Pakistan did not always have the blessings for Rawalpindi, which occasionally torpedoed such attempts. So even if the political establishment in both the countries they do try to make peace, the army regime in Pakistan was not in favor of establishing peace. So that was the case. And if we talk about the current arrangement, then there is a little contact between the New Delhi and the Islamabad. But between Rawalpindi and New Delhi has not only corrected the structural problem in India-Pakistan relationship, it also appears that Pakistan army takes this direct approach more seriously. Right. So to that extent, this is a win-win strategy. And yet, given the current strategy of the minimalist engagement with the Pakistan deep state, by Pakistan deep state means the army establishment there, it is unlikely to be able to tackle the larger substantive political question. The process may run into challenges over time, over its tactical utility might eventually be exhausted. So, the writer is of the view that this current strategy of the minimalistic engagement with the Pakistan, it is not going to tackle the substantial political question, and over a period of time it may run out, or it may eventually may suffer from exhaustion. So this is what the writer wants to say, that this single most handicap of this process is that it is ill suited to deal with the larger political question. So the strategy which both the countries have adopted in the current engagement, according to the writer, it is ill suited to deal with the larger political questions that both the country faces. So that's it for today in the India and Pakistan relationship. Thank you so much for watching Tarunayas. Have a nice day.